What's up guys, welcome back to another GGF video. Now I'm out at a secret location with LIAN Li. Now myself, Pedro from PCMR and Justin from Robitech, we've all been invited out to attend the LIAN Li Digital Expo for 2024. Now we've just finished filming on their set, and I'm doing a video now for my channel that is going to cover some of the other products we didn't go over in that video and a little bit more detail on some of those products we did cover. Now it's been complete chaos in this really awesome room for this filming. They've had a huge film crew going over all of their products, but I've managed to get them all out. I've got this whole setup just for ourselves, so let's go and take a look. Now this is what LIAN Li are calling their Edge PSU. This comes in 850, 1000 and 1300 watt models. Now what's interesting about this is you can probably see now, it looks completely different to how PSUs normally look. Now I would say LIAN Li are really redefining how PSUs are installed or done in their dual chamber cases. Now to me, LIAN Li were really the ones who revolutionized dual chamber cases. So why not come out with a PSU specifically designed for dual chamber cases? And as you can see, it's installed in this unit here. I'll throw some B-roll up so you can see. So basically what it does, it is the standard PSU, and instead of the edge connectors being on the back edge here, which is sometimes hard to connect to, you have multiple rows. So when you're installing cables, you have a first row, a second row, and the third row. And it's always those two rows at the back are always very hard to access. But with this one, we see the full face of all the connectors, and it makes it much easier to plug in. Now these will come in, of course, white and the black, and I'm just astounded how small this unit is. And this one here is a 1300 watt unit, and how small this actual PSU is. Now some other areas on this PSU is there is a built-in USB hub. Now we always have an issue now with RGB fans. There's so many controllers out there that are consuming all your USB ports on your motherboard. Most motherboards come with a maximum of 2 or 3 internal USB headers. This one has 4. So this has a 1 in and then the 4 out, and this has also been amplified. It's not just a standard basic hub, it's an amplified hub, so it should be able to work if you are using all of those connectors. But testing, I think, should be done when this would come out. No doubt there will be reviews on this to see how well that actually works. Now some other areas on this PSU that I really do like, I'll just grab it over here, are the way how LIAN Li have done these SATA cables. Now instead of just sort of redesigning the PSU, they've gone a little bit further to think about how they can improve how SATA cables are done on these PSUs. Now this cable here is a SATA cable that is split into 2 runs. So say you have a larger case, or you've got your USB or different hubs in different areas, one in one corner, one at the top. Traditional way, you'd normally have to run 2 separate SATA runs in each corner. This one is basically one SATA run that just splits it off into 2 locations, which I think is pretty neat. Then the second one, which I really do like, is this one here. This is what I would call is basically a block of SATA connectors. It's just a short run, and it gives you 4 SATA connectors in one go. So you can see it down in the bottom here. So when you're running things like controllers or hubs that have SATA cable that comes out of them, you don't normally need to run a SATA extension cable, because then you have the bulk of the cable coming out, then you have bulk of the cable from the SATA power, and then you just end up with a heap of unnecessary cables. And down here, as you can see, we just have a block of 1, 2, 3 SATA cables plugged in, and then it just hides down the bottom, and you don't have all that excess cables. Now this is what LIAN Li are calling it the DK07, and of course it is another DES PC. Now this wasn't covered in their Digital Expo, but we did see this at Computex 2023 last year. Now, I don't want to spend too long on this. Obviously, this isn't going to be everyone's cup of tea, but the main highlight of this desk is it has a massive built-in transparent OLED monitor. It is straight under this glass, and in person, it looks really awesome. Now, I do not know the final price of this desk, but it's not going to be cheap. Now, I'm thinking that LIAN Li could possibly come up with 2 revisions. There'll be one with the built-in OLED monitor, and then one without. Obviously the one without is going to be much cheaper. In terms of the support inside, I can actually see there is a heap of water cooling, even if you're doing non-water cooling. I can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 fans installed on this system. So there's 2 banks of 3 at the front, so that's up to 2 360s at the front, a 360 in the middle, and then a 360 on this side. And of course, it does go up and down like the standard traditional desks do. I can just push this button, and just like on the standard DK05, like I reviewed, I think about 2 years ago, it has the same features there. Some other areas, we do have a warmer and a chiller, like a can of Coke and so on. And then we have this interesting wireless phone charger. And if you do press this button, it then pops up. It is a bit slow. And then we have access to, there's 1, 2, 3 AC power ports, and then there's also dual USB. We have a Type A and a Type C as well. But yeah, nothing too much more on this desk. It is a very prototype at the moment. This was the same one they had at Computex, so it has been beaten around the bush a bit. You may see it is a little bit saggy at the front, but that will definitely be rectified when this one does come out. I think one area with the OLED monitor built into the desk is something how LIAN Li will come up with their software implementation for this. Obviously, people aren't going to use this as their primary monitor. You know, I'm not going to be gaming on it, but it'll be something good for stats, something for temperatures, anything like the weather, just something they can come up with to utilize the screen and not let the end user have to come up with their own ideas. As you can see through the desk, what would be cool is something like an overlay that goes over all of your hardware. So I can see the GPU there. So you can do something like GPU temps go over the GPU. Things like fan speeds can go over the fan. Memory temperatures, memory utilization can go over the memory. So you can actually map out all of your stats of your system can actually go over the components themselves. And that would actually look really cool. Now this one here is the Sub-01. We saw this at Computex last year, and I'm really glad this is still going to come to market. In terms of when and price, I'm not quite sure because that is still all up in the air. Now this case is more about your hardware and where it is being positioned in the case. It's basically gives you limited support on what you can do, and it's giving you a different direction than something like an O11 RGB Evo or something like that, where you have multiple options for your GPU, for radiators, for fans, whereas this is more specifically set for your hardware, where your motherboard is smack bam in the middle. You've got your GPU at the front. That is the only location where your GPU can go. And then around the back, you have 2 rows of your fans. So it's more of a performance case with less you can do for a slightly different target audience. Now, in saying that, I think this case does look really good. I'll get some shots with the glass on. I'm not going to put the glass on now because we're just going to get reflections. The main side panel is the only side that you can see in. But in saying that, I think it's not by any means an ugly chassis. It's just the different target audience for this case. And I think it's a fun, cool layout. It just goes to show that LIAN Li aren't just stuck on doing their dual chamber cases. I would probably call this a triple chamber case because you have your main chamber here, you have your bottom PSU chamber, and then around the back, we have our third chamber, which can be for an all-in-one cooler. It can just be for fans, or if you're game enough, you could try and do a custom loop in this case, although it's not really designed at that. I think it would be fun to play around and see what you can actually come up with. Now, in terms of hardware support, you are stuck at ATX. eATX could possibly fit, but I think LIAN Li are going to target this for ATX Max. GPU support is quite impressive, up to 390 millimeters long. Now, a few changes have been made since Computex. There's more support for the GPU to go up and down, and then also forwards and back. So that gives you support to up to 4-slot GPUs. And this one in the moment that is installed is absolutely huge. And there is still plenty of room at the top. And I can see there's still plenty of room at the bottom to install your display cables. Apart from that, you do have the riser cable that runs down and out the back. Now, I do expect that to be included, because if it's not included, then you can't even get your GPU to work. So that'll come included. And then down the bottom, it'll fit your standard ATX PSUs. Now, I will get some shots of this lit up because it still has that same RGB strip that runs along the side and then on the front. And then I'll get some shots around the back where you can do your all-in-one cooler and then your fans. Now, I do believe this will come in pre-installed with 3 fans. In terms of customizing that for fans, you probably don't need to go all out with RGB fans in the Sub-01 because the whole back is mesh. As I said before, only the main side panel is going to be tempered glass. So the front, the top, and the rear side are all mesh. So you don't need to go out and go with the bling bling fans, and go nuts and all that. You can go with some performance fans, and then you can focus more on, say, getting a nicer GPU, something like a nicer motherboard to really show off the rest of the system. So the latest craze at the moment is back connect motherboards and back connect supported cases. Now this one here is the PCMR 011 Vision back connect. Now LIAN Li have been a little bit late to the party on this, and I don't think that's a bad thing. They've basically been sitting back just observing what companies like MSI, Aorus and Asus are kind of throwing out there, and we really don't have anything anything set in stone yet. There's no real standard. Everything is a bit of a prototype. And this one here, as you can see, is running the MSI setup, and it actually fits quite nicely. Now, in saying that, this is running the MSI board, but I can see there is a large cutout down this side. There is a cutout at the back, and there's a cutout at the bottom. So I think it'll only be time will tell how well other motherboards are supported in this case. And I want to know your guys' opinion on this whole back connector setup. Is it something that you'll be moving forward and sort of purchasing straight away, or are you going to just let it sit there and see how it goes? But I think the trend for this isn't going to happen overnight. We're probably going to be looking into at least a couple of years until we get anything, as I said earlier, set in stone, something more of a standard for this type of layout. But I do see that motherboards can really go wild on their different layouts, because now we don't need to have any connectors at the top, any connectors down the side, any connectors down the bottom on the front of the board. So we could have things like brands could be coming out with like screens on the board that could cover most of the board, different type of heat sinks, different type of patterns, and so on. But apart from the rest of this is the standard PCMR OLED Vision, but it just has that back connector support. But we do have a little bit of room at the top here, and not just in cases like this. Obviously, for this type of case, it does have the tempered glass at the top, so there's no need for our radiator to go up here. But one benefit I can see with the back connector whole ecosystem and doing a water-cooled setup is you don't have to rely on room for like EPS cables, room at the bottom, because there's absolutely no cables there. So we could run, say, in a different case that had radiator support at the top, we could run straight down to this bottom heatsink on the VRM. We don't have to rely on things like EPS cables or your fan headers and so on. And same at the bottom as well. We can comfortably put a radiator in the bottom, and we don't have to worry about any of those edge connectors failing or getting into the way, as they are all on the back of the motherboard. Alrighty guys, that's pretty much it on the coverage of these new LIAN LI products coming out. Now, as I said earlier, their Digital Expo video is probably dropping around the same time as this one is going to be launched, but I just wanted to go over some of the products myself, definitely show you the desk and some of the other items that weren't covered. Now, I want to thank LIAN LI for sending me out, sending the other guys out. It's been a great experience being able to talk to everyone who works at LIAN LI, especially Jameson, the CEO, and just get the backstory about all these products and how everything comes together. But once again, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.